So I am the workflow wizard. My name is Daniel. I prefer to be called Daniel, not Dan or Danny, or I do go by a Danny Bob sometimes, but that's like a character that I dress up as. He's a hillbilly from Mideast, Missouri, and is all about chili cook-offs. So if you look that up on YouTube, you might find some videos. Just saying. Anyway, so yeah, I'm the workflow wizard, and one of my favorite tools. So I create custom automations, and so what a lot of people, when they hear that, they might have a picture of it. What I don't do what Elisa does, which is like the robotics, like the screen click and all that kind of stuff that she does, which is really amazing. What I do is all behind the scenes. It's all in the cloud, basically computing happening between all the different softwares. And one of my favorite tools to do that with is Zapier. I think most of you have at least heard of Zapier. In case you haven't, there's the logo for it, Zapier. And it connects to like over 6,000 different applications. And the ones that it doesn't directly connect with, you can still connect with them through what's called APIs. And so, for example, one of my recent clients used a software called Open to Close. It's a software for transaction coordinators in real estate. I still don't really understand what they do, but it has to do with a whole lot of money and paperwork and lots of data points. And basically, I was able to interact with this particular software through webhooks via the API, still using Zapier in order to do things like creating invoices, creating reports, that kind of thing. So Zapier is one of my favorite tools for what I do. Let's see here, next slide. So let me tell you a story. I might have told it in this group before. I don't remember because I tell this story all the time as an example of one of the things that I do. So one of my favorite clients is a math tutor by the name of Pi. He literally changed his name to Pi, the Greek symbol that is 3.14, pi r squared, that sort of thing. And so he's a math tutor for high school students, and we met at speed networking, like many of us have met people through that, part. And his process was basically he would send text messages back and forth with his students to try to arrange a time to meet. Then he would add it to his Google Calendar. And then whenever the meeting was over, he would log into QuickBooks and either have to create a customer and then send them an invoice, or create an invoice and send it to the parents of the child that he met with. Which, if you've ever had to do any of that, it's not really a lot, but it's still a bunch of click and type and copy and paste and all that kind of stuff. And the worst part about it is that it's all manual. It's all manual. And like, that just drives me insane. And here's the thing. What I did for him was this. I, first of all, put Calendly on his website so that his students could book themselves. No brainer, right? Like, I think all of you are like, well, duh. So that I can't really claim wizardry for that part of it. Okay. So I put Calendly on his website. His students, they're high school students, they can book themselves. It shows up on his Google Calendar. But where my magic skills came in is I use Zapier so that whenever he meets with a student, it's on his Google Calendar, say from like 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific time for him. As soon as that event ends in his Google Calendar, it automatically, through Zapier, triggers the creation of an invoice in QuickBooks Online for the parent of the student that he just met with. And then it also sends it to the parent. Now, he added a little tweak to it after I originally created it. What I did was what he originally wanted was he wanted the invoice to be created but not sent for about 5 hours, so he could go in and edit the invoice in case his meeting went long or short, that kind of thing. And so I had it set up to delay sending for 5 hours, and he got an email saying, hey, this is your invoice. Here's a link to edit it. It's going to be sent at this time. And then he made a change to it. He's like, hey, could I make it so I don't have to log into QuickBooks? Could I make it so that I just adjust the length of the calendar event after the fact, and the invoice is created based on the length of the calendar event in Google? And I said, sure, let's do that. So I rearranged the situation so that basically the invoice isn't created for 5 hours until 5 hours after the event. So during that time, if he wants to drag the little calendar event and make it a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, it then creates the invoice based on the length of the calendar event. And then he also wanted it so that the calendar event would change colors whenever the invoice was created, when it was sent, and then when it's paid. So right there in his calendar, he can see if someone's paid him or not. He doesn't even have to log into QuickBooks, I guess, until he's ready to do his taxes or something like that. So, and the beautiful thing about all this is that it's completely automatic. It's completely invisible to him. All he has to do, he doesn't have to text anymore. He doesn't have to log into QuickBooks anymore. He literally just sees things show up on his calendar, shows up on time, does his tutoring, and then the rest of it just happens automatically. He might change the length of the calendar event, but that's it. And so because of that, he has actually been able to like increase his student load by like a good 25% in just a matter of, a few weeks, because that little bit. And another thing was that he used to, he claimed that he often forgot to send the invoice. So like if he had a couple of meetings back to back, it would just like, slip his mind, and he ended up not sending the invoice to his students. So all of that is automatic, happens magically by the internet in the background. Now, one thing I like to say, it's kind of like the difference between driving an automatic vehicle and a stick shift vehicle. How many people actually own a stick shift vehicle, a manual vehicle, or have ever driven one? They're a lot of fun. They really are. That whole, like, you can peel out easier, you can like do the shift down and shift up and all this kind of, and it's a whole lot of fun to drive one of those, but it's not fun to drive in bumper to bumper traffic. Then it's a pain in the butt because you got to hold down the clutch, and it's like, it's such a pain. And so here's the thing, is like, when it comes to business, when it comes to our work, manual's not fun. It's because we're actually stuck in traffic. We got lots of things we want to do. We don't want to spend our time doing all this little bit of busy work. And so that's where I come in and automate these things. And so another thing that I do, that I know I think pretty much all of you do as well, is this speed networking, right? So you get on there and you meet with 5 or 6 new people, and then afterward you try to like, do a one-to-one with everyone that at least you want to connect with. And so the way they facilitate that is they send out that email, from Dawn, that has like the really long list of everybody that attended and their emails in this kind of table format. And so one way that you could handle this is you could literally just like have the list of people that you met with and those you want to meet with again, and then come in here and try to find their email and copy it into your CRM or whatever else it is that you might use, and then finally send them an email. Well, I built, using Zapier, a program that when that email shows up in my inbox, it triggers Zapier to parse through the email, split it up into basic and split it up into all the names and emails. And then in my CRM that I built myself in Airtable, I can set, so whenever I meet with someone, what I do is I enter their name, and then I usually take a screenshot of them because I like to put a face to a name. So if you've ever met with me on speed networking, I do have a weird Zoom screenshot picture of you in my CRM. If you want to send me a better headshot, feel free. And so what I wrote was a program that does this automatically. It parses through the email and then basically matches the names to all the emails, and then it looks in my CRM for anyone that I marked invite to a one-to-one. So it's a little setting that I have as part of like the status for each of the people that I meet with. And if I have them tagged as invite to one-to-one, it will automatically send them an email like this that basically says, hey, it was really nice meeting you, and here's a link to my one-to-one if you'd like to meet with me again. It usually shows up within a minute or 2 minutes from the email that she sent. So that's another cool thing that I can do with Zapier, among many, many other things. So anything that you find, if you're having to click, copy and paste, drag and drop, type, any of those things that you're having to manually do, more than likely there's a big chunk of whatever that is that can be automated so that you're not having to update information in multiple places. It can all happen automatically. That's pretty much it. Any questions?